Hey everyone, Win here, and welcome back to my channel. We are continuing to explore holiday cards in the Ericson workshop. So, if you're new to watercolor, this is the right place for you to be in. And today we're going to be creating a beautiful winter wonderland scene. So make sure you hit that like and subscribe and leave a comment below for something that you liked on this video. Let's go! Okay, so to start off, I'm using my Princeton Aqua Elite number 10 brush, and I have a lot of water on my brush, and I just got a little bit of lemon yellow and cad orange, so a lot more yellow than orange. This is going to create the sunlight coming through in the back of the trees, and I'm just adding a ton of water, so 90% water, 10% pigment, and I'm just adding it in, and then I'll dry it out and then go for my next layer, which is permanent sap green with lots of water. And then I'm now adding in some yellow ochre trees, and you notice I'm just doing quick thin lines with the brush. I'm using the tip of the brush and I'm holding the back of the brush, and I'll just do a confident straight stroke and leave it alone. And then I'll get some more pigment and paint and add a little bit of burnt sienna to the edge because the sunlight is coming from the top right corner. And I'll do that to the left side of some of those trees, and then just create some background trees. So I haven't even touched the ground yet of snow. I'm still working in, and now I'm going to add Payne's gray with some of that burnt sienna and just go in between some of the trees I've already done, just lightly, barely touching the surface. And this is all still wet into wet, so it gives you the illusion that it's darker in the background. And I'm just doing a few thin lines just to kind of fill in, focusing in. And now I'm going in with cerulean blue with a little bit of Payne's gray and a lot of water. And again, this is a card, so I'm confined to a smaller area, but I'm still going to be adding in what I think is the right amount of light and dark. So I'm just trying to not make it look uniform and kind of give it a roundish feel to it. And I'm going to add some more water to my brush and a little bit more of cerulean blue to give those shadows behind the trees, and still just kind of waving around my brush. It's kind of just a feel type of thing. I'm just adding in where I think shadows from the trees are, and then a few shadows from when the sun comes across that mini little valley that's gonna have these dark little shadows. So I'm just gonna add just a little bit more water with cerulean blue, Payne's gray, and then I'm going to dry that up and keep letting it dry. I'm back with my Aqua Elite number 10 brush, and now I'm using the side of the brush to create some more interest with Payne's gray and permanent sap green. And I'm just going to keep dabbing at that and create some interesting lines for the branches now. So I have quite a bit of paint on my brush, and I'm just using it almost like a pen to, but on its side. So I'm adding in now all of the little branches to see if I can give that effect that there is little bark and little lights and darks happening. So I'll just put in some more details. Really feels like I'm using it like a pen. It's the best way I could describe it. And just adding a few darker lines on my left side. And I'll just keep adding in more details and dark little lines. I'm almost kind of scribbling in a way. It's called sgraffito or scumbling. Sorry, it's called scumbling, where you kind of scribble all over the place. And this gives the illusion that there's little branches, little tree branches making their way. So I'm going to add some actual viridian green with my permanent sap green, because I want to highlight a little bit more of the evergreen trees up there. And I still want to keep my little tunnel, my canopy of trees, so your eye can see through. So I'm not going to cover up too much more of that area. I'm just going to add some more water and thin it down. Kind of going over what I've already done. I see a little bit more blending happening in the background, so I'm going to add a little bit more of that burnt sienna. So I just created a little glaze over the top of what I've already done. That gives the illusion that your eye is receding into the background when you just kind of put one color over the next, and that gives kind of the blurry effect. So you can see how the lights and darks are already coming through from that little tunnel of light. Now I'm going to add a little bit more cad orange and yellow just to give more of that illusion that the light is coming through the trees. I'm just tapping the surface so you can really just have that random effect. You don't want anything to look identical. I'll add a little bit more bright orange because the sun is trying to peek through there. And now I'm going to add some more of that viridian green and just kind of bring it down a little bit and let the wet into wet take effect, and just kind of do some more glazing over the top of what I've already done. And this just allows to give it some more variety, and still using those deep greens to give that kind of tunnel effect, drawing your eye down towards the light and coming through the trees. So I'm going to add some more burnt sienna and some yellow ochre just to define a little bit more of those trees in the background as they're kind of melting together. And just a few swipes on the foreground trees. As I start to come in on the finish line, I'll let that dry, and then I'll come in with my brush. And this brush is a liner brush. It's a 1-inch liner from Princeton Aqua Elite, and it has a long bristle hair on it, so it can really define some of these little twigs and branches popping out. And I'm just using burnt sienna mixed with Payne's gray for that. I'm using quite a bit, so it's almost like dry brushing, and again, it feels like I'm just using a fountain pen. So I'm really looking for variety in here. I don't want any twig to look the same. I want them to kind of have a little bit of a bend or a curve to them. I don't want it going straight up and down. So, and I also want it to draw your eye into that tree tunnel looking back into the distance. So I'm keeping all these things in my mind as I'm making random lines. Then I'll add some more branches to the tree, and I can do this because everything is now dry, and so I'm going over everything I've already done. That's the great thing about watercolor, is that after it dries you can keep layering and layering and layering, and for trees that's really key, and to give that pop of the trees and all the branches. So when I'm putting down some more of those little twigs, I'll give a little curve to them. I'll add some larger ones next to the tree, and then I'll do about 3 or 4 lines, but always going at diagonals, and that just gives more the natural or the nature effect. So I'm pretty close. I've left part of the foreground just white, and now I'm just finishing up the details. Just going to add a few more little branches onto there, onto the twigs. And I think I am pretty much done with this. There is only a few little areas that I would improve upon, and that's some of the foreground. Now I'm switching to my Princeton number 2 round brush. I'm just going to add some more cerulean blue. That gives the illusion that people have been walking through the snow, and those are larger shapes. That's not the liner brush I was using. So I'm just going to add a little bit more blue shadows to give more of the shadows of the snow as you're walking through the forest. So for snow, cerulean blue and Payne's gray works really well, and that gives the full illusion. And I'm just adding some more tiny details to give that feel. Thanks so much for watching my video today. It really does mean a lot. And make sure you're hitting that subscribe button so you can get notified of all of my latest videos. Do you find yourself struggling with watercolor? Well, I have a watercolor art course that helps beginning watercolorists go from zero confidence to confidence in watercolor, and I'd love for you to be a part of that. If you book a call in the description below, I'll get in touch with you and we can strategize how I can help you get better at watercolor. Thanks again, and I'll see you in my next video.